is why do women like assholes and losers? And don't say they don't, because we know that it's true, right? So, yeah. So why?
You want me to answer?
Well, I mean, you're a woman, so tell me why. Why do women like assholes and losers?
I'm just kidding. Well, so all right, let's start with the asshole thing because I am gonna have a harder time with the losers thing. I think, a little bit because I feel like it is more typical for women to like assholes over losers, but they do like all the things. So with the assholes, it's very complicated. Okay. So I'll start with like a first point, which I think is like something that men need to take away, but don't do it in the asshole way. So the thing about assholes is that they have boundaries. Like they're not going to do what they don't want to do.
Right.
And they're going to speak their mind, even if it comes out horribly, like asshole, like an asshole.
Right.
And so that, like, part of that is important. It is important to have boundaries. It is important to stand up for what you believe in and, like, have that sort of, like, I don't know how to phrase it, like that you stand for something, right?
Okay, yeah.
That's what it is.
Right.
But they do it in the wrong way. They step on all the people, including the girl that they're with a lot of the time in order to do that. It's very like selfish, very like an asshole is very narcissistic sort of thing because people classify an asshole as somebody who just does and says what they want and doesn't care about other people.
Right. Yeah.
And it is a delicate balance because if you care too much about what people think, then you become a people pleaser. Right. So you do have to find that in between. But with assholes, it's typically like they don't give a fuck about people's feelings.
Right.
Sort of thing. And so they'll do whatever they want. So you have to find that in between where it's like you are kind to people, but you don't take shit.
Right. Yeah. Not a nice guy, but a kind guy.
Right. And you have boundaries. You don't let people disrespect you.
Right.
And so that's the thing is like.
You don't care what other people think, but you care about them.
Right. Exactly. Right. And the disrespect thing is a huge thing because an asshole doesn't let anybody disrespect them, but they take it to the extreme. Right. But with women, like that, it's hard because they know it's wrong. Like they know they don't like this thing about this person, that he's unkind to other people, but they like that he is, you know, assertive and has these boundaries and like stands up for what he believes in. Right. Like to the point where he'll almost like fight people to get to the like prove that point. Right. And the real thing is you have to have that in between. Like you have to find the middle ground because you told me earlier, because we talked a little bit about this, that a woman will stay with an asshole, but she won't in the long term. Like it attracts her. Yeah. But eventually most women
they find a bigger asshole and then they change
they get tired of the disrespect.
They like different flavors of asshole.
And then they're like, I guess you're right. Then they're like, you know, I'm not going to allow somebody to treat me this way. Right. And then they end up with another asshole guy. Right. Yeah. So like, and maybe it all goes back to like an asshole seems more manly.
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to as an asshole. Yeah.
And men don't know how to be like a gentleman man type as much anymore. So they just go straight to asshole. And then they're like, well, women like that. And it's like, it's probably because it's the most masculine seeming thing. Yeah. You know, like this guy who like is an asshole and stands up for what he believes in and doesn't take any shit from anybody. It's like, they would rather go to the extreme and get the women, even though like women will eventually like so if you walk into a bar, an asshole walks into a bar and a loser walks into the bar, you already know who is she going to pick? The guy who is manly enough that has the qualities of the asshole, but is kind and treats a person right.
She's not gonna pick anybody because I'm be walking out of that bar.
Well, yeah, like I'm just saying. Pre-marriage.
Okay, but guys don't choose to be assholes, right? So a guy that chooses to be an asshole is a douchebag. Okay, and nobody
Some
likes
guys
him.
do choose to be an asshole.
No, they don't
because
choose.
they
No, they're
think
just
that it's the right way to be to
They're-
get women.
No,
and I know
no, it doesn't
someone's
work.
gonna clip this
Right,
part right
yeah.
here, and they're gonna be like, "Yes, women do like assholes, John." And I'm doing the voice.
But guys don't choose to be an asshole. They are just assholes, right? That's what's attractive about them is that that's just how they are. If you try to pretend to be an asshole,
so you're saying all men are assholes?
No, I'm saying that it's a primitive version of masculinity that's unfiltered, right? So it's not refined. There's no gentleman aspect to it. It's just the masculinity. Like being a quote alpha male is literally doing what you want whenever you want. That's it. Not giving a fuck. That is the epitome of quote alpha. If you're thinking in those terms, but so it's raw masculinity. But it's not refined. There's no gentleman aspect. There's no consideration of other people. So, if you have a guy that let me tell you, plenty of guys have thought I could just be an asshole and then women will be attracted to me. Let me ask guys out there, has that ever worked? Never in the history. I have coached hundreds and hundreds of guys. I have never had one guy be like, yeah, I started being an asshole and then chicks are digging me. But I've talked to plenty of guys that are assholes that chicks are all over them. Right. And so what I'm saying is that no guy actually chooses to be an asshole and becomes one in order to get girls. He might try, but he looks like a douchebag. Like there's no way that that's ever going to work. It has to be that you're just an asshole. Right. And that's just how you are, which,
there's another aspect to why women like assholes. That was just the first one.
Right.
The next one is that something in their early development has caused them to be attracted to this dysfunctional person, which, yes, I am calling an asshole dysfunctional person because they are.
Right, sure, yeah.
And they're like, I can save him. I can fix him. Like you said with the romance books before, that a woman wants to turn an asshole into a loving man and like a caring man. Like that's... They're like, you read these romance novels and then like the asshole guy the girl rolls into town and they're like hate each other. And then by the end, he's like, he only loves her and only her. And so it's like.
But the asshole guy from the romance novel and from Pride and Prejudice and those, right? That asshole guy, this is the difference between that asshole guy. He's got this bristly exterior, right? To everyone else. He just kind of like get away from
even
me,
to her at first.
Yeah, even to her at first, right? But then he's got this heart of gold inside, right? And she finds a way to his heart of gold that no one else can reach.
Yeah, but
and then but that's not the reality. That's
women think that
they think they
can turn any asshole into the Prince Charming. They think that's not true.
They think there's a heart of gold because that's what they would want.
Right.
But majority of the time, nah.
Right.
There's not. There's just deeper, more asshole. There's just whatever you think would be inside of an asshole. That's inside of an asshole. That's what's inside an asshole. Exactly what you think. Not gold up there.
Yeah, but they
better than